here. I'm gonna go ahead and we're gonna start with 729. The commissioner needs to move on, and he's willing to speak on this after Representative Dixon. So Representative Dixon, you have the floor for 729, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Hold on one sec. It is a PCS, and Cody Honeycutt that brings the PCS before the committee. Any objection? None. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate it. Thank you, members of the committee. We sent the PCS out yesterday afternoon and alerted folks that it was there. We've reduced this bill. It has only one part to it that deals with the property tax exclusion relative to solar facilities. We go to a phase down approach so that over one way of looking at it can be 4 years or 5 years. Currently, and for the other members of the committee, there are two property taxable situations on solar. One is the land on which the solar facility exists. It is leased from someone who owns the land. That land is taxed separately from the facility. The facility is taxed as the facility. It gets an 80% exclusion up front for property taxes. House Bill 729 now proposes to phase that exclusion out beginning in 2026. Nothing for this year. 2026, they would pay property tax on 40%, the next year 60, the next year 80, and after 4 years, it would go back to zero, at zero exclusion. It may be interesting for some of you, if you would like to, is to take your own county and look at the depreciation schedule. My county of Duplin, with the facilities that exist there now, started out having property tax on $53 million in round figures. Now, 4 years later, the property tax is down to $33 million. But the 80% exclusion is still there. And so on the depreciated value, which in Duplin moved from $53 million to $33 million, each county is a little bit different. The people that support this, and I think that are here today, North Carolina Farm Bureau, North Carolina Grange, the Association of County Commissioners, I understand this is their number 2 legislative priority for the year. And of course, the North Carolina Department of Agriculture and Commissioner Steve Troxler. I would like to thank Representative Julia Howard for her help in working this bill. Mr. Chair, I would stand for any questions.
Thank you, sir. Because of a pressing appointment, we're going to do this maybe just a little bit different, so give leeway to the chair. I'm going to let Commissioner Troxler come up and speak, and then we will take questions from the committee. So this will give y'all plenty of time to think through what you want to say. Welcome, sir.
Thank you for this opportunity to be here today, and I want to thank y'all for taking a look at this. The American Farmland Trust says that we in North Carolina rank number 2 in the nation in the probability of the disappearance of farmland between now and 2040. And on the low side, they're saying 1.2 million acres, the high side, 1.6 million acres of farmland that's going to disappear. And the people moving in, the businesses moving in, and the solar development all share in that disappearance of farmland. I am the biggest property rights advocate you're ever going to see. I've had hundreds of phone calls from people saying, I've been offered a contract to put solar on my farm. What should I do? And the answer always is, if you've got the deed to it, it's your property, you need to do what's right for you. And that's happened all across North Carolina. But it's happened because of government tax incentives that have put us in a really good position to become a national leader in solar development. So the question is, when does the balance change? And I think that balance is changing rapidly. We know that solar development has exceeded the amount of property that we could protect, the farmland we could protect with the Farmland Preservation Trust fund that we have. So it is time to take a look at this. It is time to once again take a look at what we do in North Carolina. Agriculture is a $111.1 billion industry in North Carolina. There will come a point when the balance of the disappearance of our natural resources overcome our production capability. So that's what this is about today. I personally wish we could turn the clock back. And I wish we could put a solar panel on every chicken house, every hog house in North Carolina. And I wish we had, in the beginning, decided what productive land is and what non-productive land is and been able to differentiate that. I think we would have been at the same point that we are today, but it would have been a much different landscape that we're looking at even, 5-10 years down the road. So thank you, chairs, for doing this, and I appreciate it and I support the bill.
Thank you, sir, for coming and seeing us today. We appreciate you. All right, now do we have any questions from the committee? Looks like I have Representative Harrison. I'm surprised.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Chair Dixon. I am sympathetic to the issue. I've certainly heard from the County Commissioner Association. I want to make a couple of points. First of all, and thanks to Commissioner Troxler for coming and speaking. I have long valued farmland preservation, and I consider that a real priority to prevent its loss. But I don't think the loss is associated with building solar systems on farms. That it seems like more like 78% of farmland loss is related to development, and only a few percentage points to solar panel. So I think that's a point worth making. We also have to decarbonize our future. We adopted a carbon reduction goal, 951, a couple of years ago. We are headed that way. As far as tax breaks to solar industry, we have significantly more tax breaks going to IOUs and the fossil fuel industries. So I don't think we can think about it from that perspective. But I do want to make the point that, or ask you a question, Representative Dixon, because I really am sympathetic to the fact that this tax has been in place since 2008. This is an industry that is no longer nascent, but has made a significant advance in terms of economic development in our state. Perhaps it's time to start to roll back the taxes, but I think that the way that this tax abatement is scheduled over 4 years might have a significant, may pose a significant burden on the industry that has calculated this into their business plans. So I wonder if you would consider turning this into a study bill and getting all the parties together who would be involved in this decision, because I think we could get to a place where everyone might be able to agree, but I don't think that this PCS is the place to go. I think it's too much too fast, and I just wanted to pose that offer. Thank you.
Is that a question from the lady to the presenter, or is that just a statement to the committee?
I wondered if the presenter would consider turning this into a study bill.
Do you yield to the question, Representative?
Thank you. Thank you, Representative Harrison. And I certainly hope that what I'm about to say is not inappropriate. Some of us are aware of your brother that has recently passed away. We understand your situation there and want you to know that we empathize for you. We're glad that you're here and participating. And on your question, no, I would not be interested in turning this into a study. Thank you.
Thank you. Also condolences from, I hope, the entire committee and myself included did not realize this. Representative Kidwell, recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. More for a comment, sir.
Okay, go ahead, comment.
In looking at this bill, and thank you, Representative Dixon, for bringing this forward, I was asked as I entered the hall here today if I was going to vote for this tax increase. To my response to that is this is not a tax increase, it is a tax equalization. Currently, what they have is a tax cut that is allowing the equipment, because it's solar, it's special, to be taxed at a lower rate than what the other equipment used in these properties might be taxed at. I've heard from constituents and members in the building that this is going to impact the landowners and their retirement plans and things of that nature because the solar energy companies won't pay them as much money. But if you've already got a lease in place for them to use your land, I lease commercial property to other people. I can't change their rent based on the factors of their business expenses fluctuating in one direction or another. If they've signed a 10-year, 20-year contract, that contract's good for the 10 or 20 years. I can't turn around and say, well, you know what? I see you got a tax cut, so I'm going to increase your rent. Nor can they come to me and say, I had a tax increase and I want you to decrease my rent. That's not how it works. So if you've already signed a contract as a landowner, this is not going to impact, unless you got a really bad contract, this is not going to impact that contract. It's not a tax cut. It's not a tax increase. It is a tax equalization. Right now, they're paying taxes on 20% of the value of the asset. Now, I just looked up the state's rules on how the counties use taxes, and if I've read this correctly, and depends on how many years the asset's in service, year one, it gets taxed at 80%, and eventually it drops down to where you tax it at 25%. That seems to be the bottom on most assets. So if I have a $1,000 asset, it's 8th year in service, I'm only going to get taxed on $270 of that $1,000. And then my tax on that's only going to be 20% of what the normal taxpayer would have to pay on that. So that's a minuscule amount of taxation that ends up getting taxed on these solar panels. This has basically been government welfare. We are subsidizing the solar and wind industry through these tax cuts. Now, I'll hear the argument that we subsidize other businesses. Okay, let's stop that too. Let's make everybody pay an equal amount of taxes because that's what we're supposed to do under the Constitution. This is definitely not something that we should be involved in, giving tax cuts to a business, particularly when that business now produces a product that the consumer has to pay more money for than if they were to get it from nuclear reactors, if they were to get it from gas, or if they were to get it from hydroelectric dams. Solar costs more, and we're subsidizing that to sell it for a higher price. We're subsidizing it through tax cuts. And then we sell it to the consumer at a higher rate. Our friends in Europe found out this was a bad idea. Check with Germany. They went to totally green energy for a few years. They're now going back to nuclear and gas. All right. I will absolutely, Representative Dixon, support you in this effort. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, my other primary sponsor's here, and she came in after I said, would you be kind enough to recognize her?
I will at this time. I'll recognize Representative Howard. I always like to recognize the boss lady.
Thank you so much. And Representative Dixon and I have been trying to work on this bill for quite a long time, and I will say that I was here when we enacted the tax credit, and I tried to go back and look and explain to myself why we did a 80% exclusion and did not sunset or anything. But that was when solar was king of the walk, and everybody was trying to help get people in place and trying to do the right thing. But I'm coming from a different place on this. County commissioners, their only means of raising revenue is with their ad valorem tax. And when we do exclusions such as this, we don't even ask the counties what they think. We just pass the law and let that happen. And as Representative Kidwell said, this is corporate welfare, and it really is. And the companies have come in, and if you look at the charts, you will see that they're going into the really low wealth counties, tier 1 counties, to have these projects. 12 of the 14 counties are tier 1, and there's a lot of money that the counties have to just exclude out of their tax base. And I think that the new committee substitute, which has a phase out provision, it's not striking anything immediately, but we're walking the exemptions back over a several year time frame, which gives everybody the opportunity to know what is going to happen and where it's going to go. But I think that this is something that is the right thing for us to visit for your counties. If you look at bills that pass every year, we continue to do exclusions and exemptions for everybody. That's local government. That's your local county government that you're going into and actually just taking direct dollars out of their budgets. I would just say, I think we've worked on it for a long time, looked at it for a long time, and I truly believe that this is a fair thing to do. We don't subsidize all other industries, so this gives the solar companies the opportunity to know what is going to happen in the future if we pass this bill. And in my opinion, it is definitely a fair thing to do, to let them pay their fair share. And that's the way it should be. We don't need to subsidize any company like this. And so I would ask for your support and be glad to answer any questions that we can.
Thank you, Representative. Right now, I have Representative Edens wishing to either question or comment.
Just a comment. Just so happens Monday afternoon, I rode out to Nash County to visit a college farmer and friend of mine, and I talked to him for a while, and he's a 4th generation farmer that has rented the majority of his land from a children's home since the 70s. And I said, so Scott, how's it going? Tell me what's going on in the farming world. He said, it's tough right now. And I said, why? He said, well, we had a solar company approach the children's home last year about taking all their land and putting in a solar farm. And I said, what would that have meant for you? He said, I'd have been gone. He said, that would have been the end for me. He said, where these children in this children's home that abut the property that I farm, he said, you know, they're out here every afternoon looking at my cows, walking around. He said they'd have been staring at several hundred acres of solar farms if that had happened, and I would have lost the 4th generation family farm probably forever. So I think since 2008, solar companies have had time to figure it out. If they can't be profitable at a regular tax rate, then maybe this isn't such a good idea. And they need to operate under the same tax laws that everybody else has to operate under, as well as I wish in any business I'd ever been involved in, I could have been told 4 to 5 years out what conditions I'd have been operating in, so I could have planned for it. Thank you.
All right, Representative Ager, question or comment?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and just a couple of quick questions with a quick comment at the.
Go ahead for a series of questions.
All right, I appreciate it.
The sponsors yield?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, and Chairman Dixon, thank you for all the work you guys have done on this bill. I know it's been, a number of iterations and a lot of work going into figuring out how to do this best, and I certainly appreciate all those efforts. One thing I'm a little bit confused on is just on the county taxes. And if we take Representative Eden's example, that land that's currently being farmed is obviously generally under PUV. And if you did put that solar farm on that land, the counties are obviously going to get the full value, be able to tax the full value of that land, and then 20% of the stuff that they put on it in the current state. So I'm just confused why the counties, to me, the counties are going to get more money out of this and do get more money out of this than they would if it stayed in PUV. And so just wondered how y'all are thinking about that.
Well, what the situation is, let's start fresh. You've got a 100-acre farm. You decide that you're going to lease out 25 acres for a solar facility, and you accomplish that. That land then that was in present use value, which was at a discounted rate for the farming, that goes off, and the county then reassesses that property. Generally speaking, across the state, the value of that land doubles. So $3,000 an acre turns into $6,000 an acre. And so the county benefits from the extra taxes on that land. However, you've got a $100 million project out there that the county is not benefiting from. And so the increased evaluation of the land under the facility is a revenue increase for the county.
Thank you, and that's my understanding, and so, I guess clears up some of my confusion, just because I do think that if counties, that these projects are giving counties a lot more money than they would if they didn't happen at all. And that's just kind of my point there. The second one is, we're talking about industries and trying to preserve farmland, which I'm a big supporter of. We do have another tax abatement of 100% for builders who are developing when they build up their inventories and they put in improvements on land. They've got an abatement on all those improvements. Is that something also that we'd be willing to look at rolling back?
I think what you're talking about, there is an end to that, Representative Ager. That is time limited, and on this, there is no end. And that's what we're trying to look at. I understand what you're saying and was a part of doing that too, but that is time limited for the builders.
Yeah, no, that makes sense, and I think it's 3 years if I remember correctly. But it just seems to me that if preserving farmland is our ultimate goal, that maybe looking at that would make some sense as well to not sort of favor one industry over another. And then final question, I promise, is just on the costs. And obviously we know Duke Power's got a lot of these solar farms around, and they don't own all of them, but they own some of them. Has there been any discussions on how that's going to increase costs on consumers for electricity?
Yes, sir. Duke supports this bill.
Yeah, but is that, I understand Duke supports it. But if they can just recover their costs by going to ratepayers to get it, then then I don't see why they wouldn't. But is that what they're going to do, you think?
The cost to Duke is infinitesimal.
Okay. Well, thank you. And just a quick comment, you know, I mean, my concern really is for those farmers and for folks that are really looking at some innovative approaches on agrivoltaics, raising cows, raising crops, raising sheep under these solar panels. That's been a new industry. I talked to some farmers in Montgomery County that are doing it. We've got some in my county back home that are doing it. And you know, while that industry gets up and is you know, and are working on through those innovations of how do you farm and how do you do agrivoltaics, it's, you know, I don't think it's just a solar panels or farming issue. There's certainly you know, real changes coming in that regard, and I think that would, you know, this tax abatement gives them the ability to kind of figure that business model out going forward. And so I would encourage my colleagues to oppose it. I don't think it helps counties. I think it doesn't help them. You know, I think they lose money in the end on this. I think, you know, I think landowners and farmers can possibly lose money on this. I think ratepayers probably lose a little bit as well. And so I would just encourage my colleagues to vote against it.
Okay, at this time I see no more from, well, I do got some more from the committee. We got people that want to speak too, so if the committee could be mindful of that. Representative Crawford.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a short series of questions for the bill sponsor.
Y'all yield for a short series of questions. All right, we're going to keep you to your word.
Okay, put me on timer. So help me understand a little bit about these contracts. These solar companies are in contracts for a period of 20 years, roughly. Is that about right?
Most of them.
Contracts run from 15 to 30 years.
Okay. So for some of these projects that maybe started in 2009, 2010, we can reasonably make the assumption, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, that some of these companies are coming up to the end of their contract within the next few years, potentially. Is that correct?
Many of them have automatic renewals.
Okay, so are they
The vast majority of them have automatic renewals.
And are they required to automatically renew? I mean, I understand what an automatic renewal is, but is there a part in that contract where they don't have to renew, or is it just, it's required they have to automatically renew no matter what?
No, they have the option.
Okay, so I just, you know, if they have the option in the next few years as this tax abatement is phased out, and there's nothing to help them renew, I don't have any more questions, just a comment. I'm concerned that as this land transfers back to be valued at present use, that the counties are not going to, they're going to no longer benefit from whatever the market value of that land was under the solar company, and not have the additional 20% on the equipment. And so I just, I'm concerned that I do have one more question. Have we done a study, and I think Representative Ager was trying to get to this too, have we done a study to look at what counties will actually lose if these solar companies come off of the land?
These solar facilities are not coming off the land.
Okay.
It is a lucrative business.
Okay. And have you asked, do we know that? Because I don't know. Have they said they're not coming off if this goes?
That's just an opinion.
Okay.
The short series is getting a whole lot shorter.
I'm done.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Representative Harrison for a second time in a brief short time.
Well, actually, I was just checking to make sure that we had some public speakers.
We do. Okay,
and
we're
I'm
going to get
shut
to
up.
that right now. And unfortunately, we probably can only give about a minute. So right now I have, I want to say it's Mark Swallow, maybe. I hope I said that right. 1 minute, sir. I'm sorry. We was hoping for 2, but we're not going to be able to do that. So, and people behind him, please understand we need to plow new ground. So if we can, not be repetitive. Thank you. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you. Yes, you pronounced it right. My name is Mark Swallow with Democracy Out Loud. I appreciate Chairman Dixon and the other sponsor for kind of further trying to refine this. I am concerned, though, that it's just the solar industry you're removing these rebates for. I know in the past 5 years, Duke Energy and Duke Progress have hundreds of thousands of dollars in rebates and credits, and we're not touching that industry. Housing communities, not touching that industry. So this is turning into an anti-solar bill, which I don't think is really what you're intended. So I think we really need to follow up on Commissioner Truckler's point. If we had gone back and done it differently, well, I don't think we need to worry about going back. Let's do it differently now. So let's leverage the hog farms that have these massive buildings, put solar on them. Put solar in the chicken coops. I don't care, right? There's opportunity here that we need to take advantage of, because we're going to live in an environment where farmers are not going to be successful doing what they're doing today. The same old is not going to work going forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Next to speak is Joel Olson. Like I said, please keep it to about a minute.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I just want to mention real quickly, I grew up in North Carolina, live in the Lake Norman area, and I've spent pretty much every waking moment of my life since 2009 developing solar farms here in North Carolina. So I want to take one example from Montgomery County in the town of Biscoe, where I was introduced to 200 acres of what was called sorry land. Doesn't perk, nothing grew on it. They tried to have a tobacco farm there 100 years ago and failed, so it was a hunting preserve. When I bought the land, and I bought it, I didn't lease it, we paid $972 a year in property taxes. Once we completed the solar farm, we paid 3 years of back taxes. We paid 100% of the real property taxes, and we paid over $100,000 in personal property taxes. So, you know, when we hear that solar doesn't pay anything, that's 124 times what the county was receiving before we built the solar farm. More importantly, we built that solar farm with agriculture in mind. That was less than a minute. No? And today it won a national award for agrivoltaics. It is something we need to focus on in the state to develop rather than deny. So I am willing to talk to anyone afterwards.
Thank you, sir.
Benefits to the county.
Appreciate time. If we could, Joy Hicks here with County Commissioners Association.
Mr. Chairman, members, thank you so much. I'm Joy Hicks, Director of Governmental Relations for the County Commissioners Association. I want to start and say what our Executive Director said last time. We are not against renewable energy, but what we are for is an equitable application of property tax collection. And because of the way this is structured, counties cannot have input in how this impacts them. And so what you're seeing right now is 67% of what was abated last year fell to Tier 1 counties. What is a Tier 1 county? You know it well. It is counties that are having problems with average unemployment rates. Their median household incomes are on the decline. Their percentage population growth is declining. Their adjusted property tax per capita is some of the highest in the state. We believe the broader property tax question that you're debating here is one that we want debated. Should the state of North Carolina continue to subsidize an industry via property tax rate? We say no. Thank you for your support on this bill.
Thank you, ma'am. If we could, Stacy Sereno with North Carolina Farm Bureau.
Good morning. My name is Stacy Sereno, and I'm the State Legislative Director for North Carolina Farm Bureau. I will be brief. We believe that this bill helps level the playing field for farmers who have to compete with solar facilities for land purchases and land leases. And so we rise in support of the bill, and thank you to Representative Dixon for bringing it forward. We urge your support.
Thank you, ma'am. We have Alex Miller with AMGA.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Fraternity houses, sorority houses, 100% abatement. Recycling facilities, 100% abatement. Nuclear facilities, 100% abatement. So the idea that this is an industry that gets an abatement that others don't get, there's about 55 others, but I don't have time. The idea that this is an industry that receives special treatment is not the case. It is an industry, however, that cannot do what every other business can do. When my costs go up, my rates go up. Any of you in here who are also business owners, when your costs go up, I imagine that your prices go up as well. These facilities cannot raise their rates. They can't raise additional revenue to cover this 500% tax increase. Duke Energy owned projects can pass that additional cost on to ratepayers. But these individual companies like Mr. Olson's that put their property, their capital on the line to develop these projects under the rules that were established at the time are fixed in their price what they receive. That was all baked into the financing. This is a 500% tax increase on an industry. If that is what y'all feel comfortable to do, to raise taxes by this much on one industry, you're sending a signal to all industries that they may be next, and I don't think that's a signal that we should be sending as a state.
Thank you, sir. All right, this time we'll close public comment. Chair looks for a motion. Representative Kidwell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I make a motion for a favorable report to the PCS for House Bill 729, unfavorable to the original with a referral, I assume, to rules?
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
No, wait, no, energy. Yep. All right, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, like sign. And ayes of the chair, ayes have it, ayes do have it. Motion passes. Thank y'all. At this time, Representative Dixon's gonna assume the chair, and I'm gonna step down to talk about my bill. If I can find it. Oh, is it Howard? Okay, excuse me, Representative Howard. Representative Penny, he threw me off.
Well, you were half right.
I'll get in there. We had too many Howards.
Tell them that we're not obligated. We'll stay till we finish. We don't have to leave the building.
Just on a note, we are not obligated to leave here at 12 o'clock, so we will go on past the 12 o'clock hour. So just wanted to let you know, so we will continue to hear the bills, and without objection, this is a PCS and it is before the committee, and we will gladly hear your bill, Representative Neely.
Thank you, Representative Penny, Chairman Penny. This is what I call 348 light. It's been changed pretty much dramatically, I feel like, from the first version to now. This is a pretty simple bill, it's pretty straightforward. This talks about having cities and counties work together, and I think we all want that, and I stand for any questions.
Mr. Chair, for a motion.
At the appropriate time, Representative Harrison is recognized. I think, though she's changed her mind, does anyone else have any questions? Seeing none, this would be the appropriate time.
Is it a PCS?
It is, sir.
PCS.
I move we give a favorable report to the PCS, unfavorable to the original.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor will say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it, and your bill is approved. And I can turn it back over to you, Chairman Benita.
And that's the way it should be right there. All right, Representative Jeffries, I understand you're carrying the water for this. All right, we now have, make sure it is not a PCS. House Bill 552, Ag Manufacturing Economic Development.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, committee members. Here to present House Bill 552, which is a House companion bill to Senator Bergen's Senate Bill 530, which came out of our Joint Legislative Co-Economic Development Caucus Manufacturing Study. This bill would establish an agricultural manufacturing investment grant within the one NC fund. It would not require any additional appropriations, merely establish a separate account within the existing fund, focused on developing North Carolina's agricultural manufacturing.
Mr. Chairman, for a motion.
Okay. Representative Harrison, I take a motion or a statement?
Quick question for the bill sponsor,
Do
please.
you yield, sir?
I do.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I read through the bill kind of carefully. I just want to confirm that it doesn't include any manufacturing of potentially toxic pesticides and that sort of thing. Is it strictly limited? I was trying to figure out the way it's defined. If it just includes like buildings, infrastructure on farm land, might be for the staff.
Probably have to ask staff, but as I read it, it's agricultural manufacturing, supporting rural areas. I don't know if it limits that industry.
Staff?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Representative Harrison, this is Chris Saunders, Legislative Analysis. Agricultural manufacturing isn't defined in here, but it does favor practices of precision agriculture, artificial intelligence-driven automation, biotechnology, or a combination thereof. Those are the sort of prioritized projects on page 2, lines 11 and 12.
Just quick follow-up, I'm sorry, I know we have to go,
Go
but, Mr. Saunders, I think I'm just looking at the, any other purposes language that might be a catch-all, and that was my concern.
It's not really addressed in the bill, it's not defined.
I think this is more for farmers, to a point, to acquire than it is for manufacturers. So anyway, any other questions? If not, look for a motion.
I move for favorable report for House Bill 552 with the referral to Commerce.
Thank you, Representative Dixon. All right, the motion is for the committee. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, like sign. Motion so passes. Moves forward. Yep, I'm gonna get Kyle in here. All right, now we're gonna have House Bill 873, DEQ Agency Bill. Kyle Hall, you're just gonna do it from your seat, sir. Thank you, Representative Hall.
And it's a PCS as well.
It's a PCS. If there's no objection, come before the committee. So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is the DEQ agency bill. Everything's been worked out with all stakeholders. I know of no opposition. Appreciate your support.
Any questions from the committee?
Motion.
All right. I got a motion here from Representative Dixon.
I move for favorable report for 873, unfavorable to the original, rolled into a new PCS with the referral to rules.
Okay, motion before the committee. All those in favor? In finance. Excuse me, to finance. Amend a motion. Everybody understand? Okay. That's motion before the committee. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, like sign. Motion so carries. Thanks, sir. Right now, we're going to have House Bill 841 come before us. And just so everybody can get ready, 870's coming up. We're going to try to get it in, Mark.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, good morning, committee members. I got letters from all my beach towns, Topsail Beach, North Topsail Beach, Surf City, and both counties I represent, Onslow and Pender County, requesting that I put a moratorium in place on shellfish leases in the coastal waters of Pender and Onslow County. We're basically the only part of the southern coast that certainly the largest part that currently does not have a moratorium. And he's put the map up. You just kind of get a feel for what it is. You got a red blob at the bottom, a red blob toward the top, and the center part that's not red is Pender and Onslow counties. So we have a number of shellfish leases that are coming to us and wanting to get approved by the state, while other parts of the state do not. So I didn't, after I had bill drafting work up on it, I didn't want to do a moratorium. I didn't want to red out the center and just really keep folks from being able to, commercial fishermen from being able to lease bottom leases or vertical leases pretty much anywhere on the coast. So I changed it to a bill that would just open up the whole coast to leases. I figured that probably wouldn't get too far. So what I have turned this into is probably something that I think is needed. I'm not big on study bills, but I think we need a study bill here. We're a state that wants to help the aquaculture industry. We want to have a thriving oyster industry. So this is a study bill that would have the North Carolina Collaboratory conduct a study and report back to the legislature in May of 26. Really what's in the bill now, 9 items. I'm gonna read 3 of them I think are really important as to what they'll bring back. Number 1, the effectiveness of existing regulations and permitting governing shellfish aquaculture leases, the history and policy basis for current permanent and temporary moratoriums, and whether to lift or modify or enact additional moratoriums on shellfish aquaculture leases. And really the big one is recommendations for a statewide framework on the regulation and permitting of shellfish aquaculture that benefits the industry and the state while mitigating conflicts with users of public trust waters. These lease sites have got to be a balance between the shellfish operations and how they affect private property values, commercial fishing, recreational fishing, boating, tourism, and other coastal issues. Again, I'm not huge on study bills, but I really think it's appropriate here, and I would ask the committee for the support to keep this going.
I think you're winning. Any questions?
Appropriate time.
Motion of appropriate. Any questions from the committee? If not, go ahead, Representative Penny.
I make a motion that we give a favorable report to House Bill 841, referred to rules, calendar, and operation of the House.
All right, motion's on the floor. Everybody's heard it. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, like sign. Motion so carries. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
We got 9 minutes.
I know, you took most of them. You gotta do it quicker. All right, now we're gonna have House Bill 870, and there is an amendment. I assume we wanna do the amendment first. And Representative Brody is presenting. All right, Mark, you need to give us Reader's Digest version here.
Mr. Chairman, if you wouldn't mind, let's do the amendment. It's really a technical amendment.
That's fine. Go ahead, sir.
The amendment changes one thing. It deletes what's called Environmental Policy Council. That has nothing to do with the bill in front of us. That was from a previous bill where we transferred things. It just got caught up in there. And the other was the previous bill, which is House Bill 579 from last session. The Clean Water had to send information to the Housing and Development. That no longer,
this amendment's purely technical, isn't it?
Yeah, that'll be it.
Okay, the amendment's pretty technical. All those in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, like sign. All right, go ahead to your bill, sir. Be mindful.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is an extension of a much reduced version of House Bill 579 from last year, and I streamlined it down. It's has 3 provisions, and the tendency when people sometimes looked at it is that it's going to have a lot of things in it that aren't in it. So I'll just list 3 things. Number 1, because of the new administration in the federal government and the new administration in the EPA, we are asking once again we're formally requesting the DEQ approach EPA to renegotiate what's called the Memorandum of Understanding. This is the policy under which EPA and DEQ work together. All we're doing is we would like them to get together and renegotiate that. Second of all is it requires that this document in particular, when it does get renegotiated, that it goes before the House and Senate to get ratified. And third is it would provide the Speaker and the Senate Pro Tem to appoint one person to be the fly on the wall in the negotiations between EPA and DEQ, so we can have an accurate report. There's no voting on it or anything. It's just somebody who's in the mix to go ahead and do that. And Mr. Chair, I will stand for any questions.
All right, Representative Kidwell.
Mr. Chairman, for a motion.
Okay. I'm surprised. Probably Representative Harrison has something to say about it.
Thank you, Mr. McNeely. Quick question of the bill sponsor, maybe a question of staff. You mentioned that it comes back to us for ratification. Does it come back to us, North Carolina House and Senate, for ratification?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Yes, North Carolina House and Senate, yes.
Thank you. And I think maybe for the staff, and I have some recollection of the 579 discussion from last biennium. Is there a chance to our staff that this violates the federal primacy clause or potentially the separation of powers clause in our state constitution?
Staff.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't know that I see constitutional issues with it. In as much as if the General Assembly does not approve the MOA MOA between the agencies, then the MOA could not be implemented. That may be a risk to delegation issue.
That was Jennifer McGinnis.
Sorry.
No problem. Yes, ma'am.
And I think that was my next question. So there is a chance that this could put our delegation of our program at risk.
Staff.
Of course, we can't quantify it, but I think any significant policy change and having approval of the General Assembly of these agreements between agencies, it's a possibility.
And lastly, question for you. Are you aware of any other state that engages in this sort of?
I'm not, but I have not done a state search survey.
Don't we want to be first in everything?
Not on this, because, Mr. Chair, sedimentation is one of our biggest water quality problems, and I don't like this bill.
I take it this is a statement. No. This is a statement on the bill. Okay, thank you. All right, so I take it you're not for it. All right, who else do I got here? I think that's all I see of the thing. Looking for a motion then, Representative Kidwell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I make a motion for a favorable report to House Bill 870 with a referral of rules.
All right. As amended.
As amended.
Okay, rolled into a
Rolled into a new PCS.
new PCS. Got it.
What
All right.
piece?
Motion's on the floor. All understand? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, like sign. Okay, ayes have it, and the ayes of the chair. Motion carries. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chair and committee.
We are adjourned.